Welcome to Monk's Temple. Please, make yourself comfortable. You can close your eyes if you wish, or simply soften your gaze. There is no need to prepare, or to become anything other than what you are in this moment. Just arrive. Bring the weight you carry, and set it down beside you. For now, there is only your breath, and the gentle sound of presence. We often believe that peace must be discovered in some distant, quiet place, far from the noise of our lives. But what if the deepest quiet isn't a location at all? What if it is a quality of attention, a way of listening to your own life without the constant commentary of struggle? Buddhism doesn't point to a far-off shore. It gently directs our gaze to the vessel we are in, and the water upon which we float. The stillness you long for isn't ahead of you. It is within the very act of pausing the endless journey to somewhere else. Tonight, we are not traveling. We are remembering how to be still. I want to tell you a story. Many years ago, before I found the quiet of the temple, I worked in a vast library. It was a place of profound silence, or so it seemed. But my mind was not silent. It was a cacophony of anxieties, plans, and relentless thoughts. My task one winter was to restore a very old, damaged manuscript. The pages were fragile, almost translucent, and the ink had faded in places. I was terrified of causing further damage. I worked with tweezers and a magnifying glass, my breath held, my shoulders tight with the effort of not making a mistake. One afternoon, in my intense focus, I accidentally brushed a page corner and a tiny piece, no larger than a lentil, flaked off and drifted to the table. I was devastated. I had failed. I sat back, filled with frustration, and for the first time, I truly looked at the manuscript not as a problem to be solved, but as it was. In the beam of my lamp, I saw not just the damage I had caused, but the incredible, delicate beauty of the paper's fiber, the graceful hand of the scribe from centuries ago, the faint shadow of a pressed flower someone had once left between the pages. My pursuit of perfect restoration had blinded me to the artifact's true nature, its impermanent, fragile, and beautiful history. In that moment, I let go of the need to fix it perfectly. I simply continued, but with a touch of reverence, not fear. The work became a meditation, not a test. That manuscript taught me more about Buddhism than any text it could have contained. It taught me about non-attachment to outcomes. My suffering wasn't in the flaking page, it was in my clenched attachment to the idea of a flawless result. When I released that, I could meet the work, and myself, with compassion. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving and aversion. I was craving a perfect restoration and averse to any flaw. In the quiet release of that demand, peace entered the room. We often hold our own lives like that fragile manuscript, terrified of damage, of imperfection, of history. We try to restore ourselves to some imagined pristine state. But what if wholeness includes the cracks? What if the beauty is in the gentle handling of the tender, real thing you are, not in the impossible standard you hold? If this notion of gentle handling, of finding peace in the release of perfect outcomes, speaks to you, you are always welcome here. Subscribing to Monk's Temple is simply like leaving a bookmark in this space of calm, so you can find your way back easily whenever the noise becomes too much. This leads us to a profound, often misunderstood principle, detachment. We hear this word and imagine coldness, a turning away from life and love. This is a shadow of its true meaning. True detachment is not a wall, it is open space. It is not the absence of feeling, but the absence of clutching. Imagine you are on a train, watching the landscape pass. You see a beautiful, solitary tree on a hill. You appreciate its form against the sky, its quiet dignity. Then the train moves on, and the tree is gone. You do not weep. You do not demand the train stop. You enjoyed its presence, and you release its form. Your heart is full of the beauty, yet empty of the demand to possess it. That is detachment. It is how we can love deeply, yet not drown in the sorrow of impermanence. I remember a man who came to the temple gates every full moon. He would sit for hours, looking up. He said he was visiting his wife. She had loved the moon, and when she passed, he felt he could meet her in its light. For years, this was his ritual. One cloudy night, the moon was completely hidden. He sat in the dark, distraught. He felt he had lost his connection, that even this solace had been taken. An old monk sat beside him and said nothing for a long time. Then he simply said, "The moon is still there." The man broke down, not in grief, but in realization. He had become attached to the visible moon, the specific reflection of light, not to the love itself, which was as constant and present as the moon's body, whether seen or unseen. After that, he still visited, but the ritual changed. Sometimes he came on moonless nights and sat in the dark, feeling her love not as a distant light, but as a presence within the silence itself. He had detached from the symbol and found the essence. This is what Buddhism offers, a shift from clinging to the reflection, to resting in the source. Your pain often comes from clinging to a specific form, a relationship as it was, a dream in its exact shape, your own self-image from a certain time. Life is the moving train. Forms pass. Detachment is the inner spaciousness that allows you to witness the passing scenery with awe, not with desperation. It is how you keep your heart open without it being broken by every change. You are not asked to stop loving the tree. You are invited to love it without needing to own the hill. Let's explore this in your own body now. Just for a moment, bring your attention to your hands. Feel the energy in them. Now, gently clench them into tight fists. Hold that tension. Notice what it feels like in your wrists, your forearms. This is attachment. It is holding on. It requires constant effort. It restricts flow. Now, slowly, with awareness, release the fists. Let your fingers unfold, palms open, facing upward. Feel the release in the muscles. The openness. The capacity to receive. This is detachment. It is not limp or passive. It is a receptive, alive openness. Your heart is capable of both actions. One creates fatigue. The other creates space. Throughout our time together, whenever you notice inner clenching, a tense thought, a gripping worry, remember your hands. And inwardly, choose to open the palms of your awareness. We often fear that if we open our hands, what we value will fall away. But consider this, what is truly yours cannot be lost by opening your grasp. Only the illusion of control is lost. And what a relief that is. The things we are meant to hold, love, peace, wisdom, are not held by grip, but by resonance. They rest in the open palm because they belong there. The rest was only ever borrowed for a little while. The practice of letting go quietly begins with this simple, courageous motion, opening the inner hand. Let's breathe into that openness for a moment. In and out. without trying to change anything. Just feeling the space that breath creates within the body. It is in this kind of space that a different quality of strength is forged. Not the brittle strength of defiance, but the resilient strength of the deep root. We often confuse strength with being unyielding, like granite. But granite, under enough pressure, shatters. Think of the willow tree by the riverbank. Its branches are flexible, they sway and dip in the storm. They yield to forces that would break a stouter oak. And when the storm passes, they spring back, still rooted, still whole. Its strength is in its connection to the ground and its ability to move with the wind, not against it. Buddhism teaches a similar strength through the principle of equanimity, a balanced heart that is not tossed about by every changing condition. This isn't indifference. It is profound stability. I saw this embodied in a woman who ran a small community garden in a bustling, often harsh city. The garden was her sanctuary, but it was also vulnerable. To litter, to occasional vandalism, to the weather. One morning, she arrived to find her most prized rose bush, which she had nurtured from a cutting, had been snapped in half. Her initial reaction was a wave of hot, furious grief. She told me she stood there, her fists clenched, tears of anger in her eyes, composing speeches of outrage to the universe. But then, she did something else. She knelt down in the dirt. She put her hands on the broken stem and the remaining root. And she just stayed there, breathing, for a long time. The anger didn't vanish, but it settled like sediment in water. What rose to the surface was a clear, quiet knowing. She carefully trimmed the broken stem, prepared the root, and later that season, nurtured 2 new, strong shoots from the base. The garden didn't just survive, it taught her about resilience. She said, "I learned that my care wasn't for the single perfect bloom. My care was for the life in the root. And that couldn't be broken." Her quiet kneeling was an act of supreme strength. It was the strength to feel the full force of the loss without being annihilated by it. It was the strength to choose nurturing over blaming. The Buddha taught that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The suffering came from her mental storm, the stories of injustice, the personal offense. The pain was the simple, clean fact of the broken branch. When she knelt, she moved from suffering the story to being present with the pain. And from that presence, a wise response emerged naturally. This is the heart of Buddhist practice, meeting reality as it is, not as we think it should be. Your resilience grows not from avoiding the storms, but from learning how to bend within them, connected to your own deep, unbreakable root of awareness. Now, consider where in your life you might be trying to stand like an oak in a hurricane. Where are you rigid, insisting, "It shouldn't be this way"? Feel that stance in your body, the clenched jaw, the hardened heart. Now, imagine infusing that same area with the quality of the willow. A gentle yielding. Not a collapse, but a conscious, flexible adaptation. You are not giving up your values or your truth. You are giving up the exhausting, impossible fight against the reality of the present moment. You are choosing to be rooted in awareness, not in resistance. This flexible strength allows us to approach a tender area, the need for an audience to our pain. We are storytelling creatures. When we hurt, we have a deep, human urge to narrate our wound. To display it. To have it witnessed, validated, and approved by others. We believe, if I can just make them understand how much this hurt, then I will feel better. Then it will be real. Buddhism compassionately questions this urge. It asks, does your healing require a consensus? Is your truth only true if it is ratified by someone else's understanding? I recall a young musician, a brilliant cellist, who suffered a severe hand injury. It wasn't just a physical blow, it was an identity-shattering event. For months, he circulated among friends and family, showing them the scans, detailing the therapies, explaining the profound loss. He was met with pity, with advice, with awkward silences. He found that each explanation, rather than lightening the burden, seemed to make it heavier. It was as if he was handing pieces of his pain to people who didn't know what to do with them, and he had to collect the pieces again afterward, now tinged with their discomfort. Finally, his teacher, a wise old man who had survived his own tragedies, said to him, "Stop showing people your wound. Start listening to what it is teaching you." He stopped explaining. He began to sit alone with his injured hand, not in despair, but with a curious, gentle attention. He listened to the new limitations. He discovered he could still hear music with profound depth. He began to compose in his mind, then to teach others. His healing accelerated not when the world understood his loss, but when he stopped needing them to. His silent communion with his own reality became the fertile ground for a new kind of creativity to grow. The Buddha taught right speech, which includes knowing when silence is the most profound communication. Your pain is valid. Your story is yours. But not every heart is a sanctuary capable of holding it. Scattering your sacred story to the winds of opinion often leads to a deeper kind of loneliness. When you heal quietly, you build an inner sanctuary. You become the compassionate witness to your own experience. Your validation becomes the only one that is ever constantly, unconditionally present. This is not loneliness. It is the ultimate intimacy with yourself. It is how you stop abandoning yourself in the search for external rescue. Think of a seed germinating in the dark earth. It does not send up a flare to announce its struggle. It does not need the approval of the sun to begin its work. It gathers its resources in the silent dark, and its growth is an inevitable expression of its nature. Your deepest healing is often like that. It happens in the quiet, unseen places within you. The moment you stop performing your pain for an audience is the moment you give it the darkness it needs to transform. When you emerge, it won't be with the same story. It will be with a new kind of life, one that doesn't require explanation. Let's practice this inward listening now. Bring to mind a current slight, a small resentment, or an irritation. Notice the immediate urge to mentally explain it, to justify your feeling, perhaps even to plan how you'll express it to someone. See that urge as a wave in the mind. Now, don't follow the wave. Instead, drop your awareness beneath it. Feel the raw sensation in the body that accompanies the thought, a tightness in the chest, a heat in the face, a sinking in the gut. Place your attention there, with the gentle curiosity of a scientist observing a phenomenon. Breathe into that space. You are not explaining the sensation. You are not justifying it. You are simply being present with the pure, unstoried feeling. In this space, between the trigger and the narrative, lies your freedom. This is the silent, powerful core of your being that doesn't need to argue to exist. As we rest in that audience-free space, a natural quality begins to emerge from the silence. It is not something you need to manufacture or force. It is compassion. But not the compassion we often speak of, the kind that exhausts itself in fixing and tending to others. This is a different stream. It is the compassion of clear seeing, born from wisdom. In Buddhism, true compassion, karuna, is inseparable from wisdom, prajna. It is not a sentimental feeling, but a clear-eyed response to the reality of suffering, starting with your own. It understands that to truly care for others, you must first cease to be at war with yourself. I learned this not from a lofty teaching, but from a potter. She had a unique way of working with cracked pots. While others might discard them, she would mix a special lacquer with fine gold dust and carefully mend the break. The repaired pot, with its delicate golden seams tracing the path of its fracture, became more beautiful, more valued, than it ever was before. She called it kintsugi, the art of golden repair. One day, I asked her if it was difficult to be so patient with the broken pieces. She smiled and said, "The patience isn't for the clay. The clay is just clay. The patience is for my own mind. If my mind is rushing, judging the break as a failure, my hands become clumsy. But if I can see the cracks simply as the new shape of the pot, then my hands know what to do." The gold is just a celebration of that truth. Her compassion for the pot was an extension of her compassionate, non-judgmental awareness of its, and her own, imperfect state. This is the essence of Buddhist compassion. It is the application of golden attention to the cracks in your own life. It is the willingness to see your pain, your mistakes, your perceived flaws, not as enemies to be eradicated, but as part of your unique topography. When you stop fighting your own broken places, you stop needing others to fix them for you. And from that settled, wholehearted space, you can then look at the world and see its fractures not with overwhelm or blame, but with the calm, discerning eye of the potter. You see the possibility of gold. So often, our attempts at compassion are frantic. We see suffering and we rush in, often with more of our own anxiety than calm presence. I remember a time during a retreat, a participant was overcome with silent, shaking sobs during a meditation. Several people nearby grew visibly agitated, looking to the teacher, wanting to do something, to comfort, to stop the pain. The teacher remained still, her own presence a deep, quiet pool. She did not interrupt. She simply held the space for the emotion to complete its journey. Later, the weeping person said that was the greatest gift, to have her grief be allowed, to be held by the collective silence without being rushed or shushed. That was wise compassion, the strength to be present with suffering without needing to manage it. It creates a container where healing can happen on its own terms. This relates directly to letting go quietly. The most compassionate thing you can do for yourself, and by extension for others, is often to release the grip of management. To stop trying to manage your emotions into a more acceptable shape. To stop trying to manage other people's perceptions of you. To stop managing life into a risk-free venture. This managerial mindset is a subtle form of violence against the present moment. Compassionate release says, "I will meet what is here, without an agenda to alter it fundamentally." From that meeting, intelligent action can arise, but it arises from harmony, not from control. Let's feel this in the body. Bring to mind a small self-judgment. Perhaps something like, "I shouldn't feel so tired," or "I should be further along by now." Notice how that judgment feels, contracting, hardening. Now, imagine applying the potter's gaze to that feeling. See the judgment itself as a kind of crack in your present moment experience. Instead of judging the judgment, which is just another crack upon a crack, infuse it with golden attention. Breathe into the very spot where you feel the contraction. Say inwardly, this, too, belongs. This is not approval of harmful behavior, it is acceptance of the present moment reality. This is self-compassion in action. It is the quiet letting go of the war against your own inner weather. From this ground of self-compassion, a beautiful paradox unfolds. You begin to trust life again. Not with a naive, blind faith, but with a grounded trust in the fundamental process of life itself. Buddhism teaches the principle of dependent origination, that all things arise and pass due to causes and conditions. When you deeply understand this, you see you are not a solitary figure battling a chaotic universe. You are a part of the flow, a unique confluence of ever-changing streams. Trusting life means aligning with this flow, rather than standing in the river trying to push the water backward. I have a friend, a sailor, who taught me about this. He said beginners fight the wind. They get a destination in their head and try to will the boat there, tacking violently, exhausting themselves. An experienced sailor, he said, learns to listen. They feel the shift in the air, read the water, adjust the sails constantly. They have a direction, but they are in a dialogue with the elements. You can't control the wind, he said, but you can learn to trust it. Even a headwind can take you somewhere new and beautiful if you know how to use it. His boat didn't move in a straight line. It moved in a graceful series of adjustments, a dance with forces greater than itself, and it always made progress. Your life is that boat. Your plans are your intended direction. The wind is the constant, unpredictable change of conditions, other people's choices, global events, your own shifting inner states. Letting go quietly is the act of releasing the death grip on the tiller, of stopping the fight against the headwind. It is learning to adjust your sails, your attitudes, your actions, to the present reality. It is trusting that the intelligence of life itself is in the wind and the water, and that by engaging in the dance, you will be carried to shores you may not have chosen, but that are right for your soul's journey. This trust is what allows for true rest. Not the restless, anxious pause of someone waiting for the next problem, but the deep, sinking rest of one who knows they are held by something vaster than their own effort. Imagine you are floating on your back in a calm sea. You are supported by the water. You don't need to tread water. You don't need to swim. You can simply float. Your trust in the buoyancy of the water allows you to rest completely. Buddhism points to this ultimate rest in the nature of reality itself. When you let go of the exhausting effort of building a separate, fortified self, you discover you are already floating in a vast, supportive awareness. You can rest back into it. This is the journey, from the clenched fist, to the open palm, from the rigid oak, to the flexible willow, from performing pain for an audience, to listening in sacred silence, from judging your cracks, to mending them with gold, from fighting the wind, to adjusting your sails. From treading water in panic, to floating in trust. Each step is a quiet release. Each release creates more space for the peace that has always been there, beneath the noise of your doing. As we learn to float, to trust the supportive nature of awareness itself, we begin to relate to the world from a place of wholeness, rather than need. This transforms our relationships, not into perfect, conflict-free bonds, but into spaces of shared presence. Buddhism speaks of interdependence, the truth that no being exists in isolation. Letting go quietly is how we honor this connection without dissolving into it. It allows us to be close, yet distinct, to care, without carrying. I witnessed this in the gentle dynamics of a long-married couple who lived near the temple. They had a ritual. Every evening, they would sit on their porch, often in silence, just watching the light fade. They weren't always doing the same thing. One might be knitting, the other reading, but their silence was a shared atmosphere, like two trees in the same grove, sharing the same soil and sunlight, yet growing in their own directions. Once, I asked them the secret to their evident peace. The woman smiled and said, "We gave up the project of improving each other. It was the heaviest burden we ever carried." They had quietly let go of the need to mold one another into an ideal. In that release, they created space for each other to simply be. Their love was not a tight knot of dependency, but a spacious garden where both could grow. This is the application of detachment in relationship. It is not cold distance. It is the respectful space that allows the other person to be who they are. When you let go of the blueprint you have for someone else, the person you think they should be for you, you finally get to meet the human being they actually are. And you invite them to meet the real you. So much relational suffering is the pain of two blueprints clashing, not two souls meeting. Consider your own important relationships. Can you feel, even now, a subtle tension where you might be holding a silent expectation? A hope for them to change in some way to better suit your needs or your vision. Notice that tension. It is a form of clinging. Now, imagine gently placing that expectation down, like setting a heavy book on a shelf. For just this moment, see the person without the filter of that want. See them in their own right, with their own journey, their own wounds, their own beauty. This mental release is an act of profound love. It says, "I love you more than I love my idea of you." This spaciousness also allows for healthy boundaries, which are not walls but gates. A wall says, "You are not welcome." A gate says, "I choose when to open and close, for the care of the inner garden." For years, I struggled with this, confusing compassion with endless availability. I would say, yes, when my spirit was whispering, no, draining my energy and building a quiet resentment. The shift came from a teacher who framed it as stewardship. "You are the steward of your own life energy," she said. "If you pour it all out on every demand, what is left for your own growth, for the causes you truly care about?" A steward is not greedy, but they are discerning. Letting go quietly of the need to be perceived as always accommodating allowed me to install these inner gates. A no could be silent, not answering the message immediately, not attending the event, simply turning my attention inward to recharge. It was an act of self-respect that ultimately made my yes more genuine and powerful. This brings us to a crucial, often overlooked aspect of the path, the wisdom of non-doing. In our quest for healing and growth, we can turn spirituality into another achievement, another frantic doing. We must meditate this long, read that many books, achieve such and such a state of mind. Buddhism, particularly through the concept of wu-wei, effortless action, in related traditions, points to the intelligence of allowing. Healing is something that happens to you when you get out of the way, much like sleep descends when you stop trying to force it. There is a story of a master gardener who was hired to restore a famous, overgrown Zen garden. The new owner expected dramatic plans, new plants, redesigned layouts. The gardener arrived, walked the grounds for a day, and then did almost nothing for a week. He simply sat in different spots, observing the light, the flow of water, the way the existing plants grew. The owner grew impatient. Finally, the gardener asked for a single tool, a pair of very sharp shears. He then proceeded to make only a few, precise cuts. He removed a branch that blocked the morning sun from a moss bed. He trimmed a bush to reveal a beautiful, hidden stone. He cleared a channel so a small stream could be heard again. He didn't add anything foreign. He removed the obstacles to the garden's own inherent beauty and harmony. The result was breathtaking. The owner asked, "Is that all?" The gardener replied, "The garden knew what it wanted to be. I just listened and helped it remember. Your psyche, your heart, is that garden." The quiet work of letting go is not about adding more techniques, more affirmations, more complexity. It is about making the few, precise cuts. It is about removing the obstructive branch of a repetitive, self-critical thought. It is about clearing the channel of a clogged emotion so your inner wisdom can flow and be heard. The intelligence is already within you. Your job is not to build it from scratch, but to create the conditions, through silence, through release, through compassionate attention, for it to emerge. So, let's practice this non-doing. For the next few moments, drop any project of improving yourself. Drop the goal of having a good meditation or achieving a quiet mind. Simply be aware of the field of your experience, sounds, bodily sensations, the flow of breath, without any intention to change it. Imagine you are that gardener, sitting on the bench of your own awareness, just observing the landscape of this moment. If a thought arises, see it as a bird flying through the garden. No need to shoo it away or feed it. Just note its passage. In this space of deliberate non-doing, you may sense a subtle, background order, a harmony that was always present beneath the noise of your efforts. This is the peace of the garden remembering itself. Sitting in that garden of non-doing, a subtle shift occurs in our relationship with time. The frantic energy that usually pulls us into the past's regret or the future's anxiety begins to settle. We start to touch the truth of impermanence not as a threat, but as the very ground of possibility. Buddhism places great emphasis on this, anicca. All conditioned things are transient. Our mistake is not in noticing change, but in protesting against it. We build our identities on shifting sand. The job we have, the relationship we're in, the version of our body we recognize, and then we suffer when the tide of change inevitably comes in. Letting go quietly is the practice of building our home not on the sand, but on the awareness that watches the tide. I remember a profound lesson from a season of wildfires. A family who had a cabin deep in the woods lost it completely. They had poured years of love into that place, it held generations of memories. When they returned to the ashes, the grief was palpable, a physical weight in the air. But the father did something unexpected. He didn't rage or collapse. He walked the blackened perimeter slowly, then picked up a piece of charred timber from what was once the front door. He held it, turning it over in his hands. He said to his children, "Look. The pattern the fire left in the grain. We'll never build this same house again. But this is the memory the land has now. We have to listen to what wants to grow here next." He wasn't denying the loss. He was meeting the brutal reality of impermanence with a startling, quiet openness. He was letting the old story burn away completely, creating a terrifying but fertile emptiness for a new story to begin. This is the essence of non-attachment. It is the courage to stand in the ashes and, instead of desperately trying to rebuild a ghost, feel for the first green shoots of what is to come. We all have these wildfires, the end of an era, the loss of a dream, the fading of a version of ourselves we loved. Our suffering amplifies when we spend our energy arguing with the ashes. This shouldn't have happened. The quiet release is the sigh that finally says, but it did. In that acceptance, your energy, once used to fight a fact, is freed to tend to the new, tender life that is already stirring beneath the surface. The future is not a rebuilt replica of the past. It is an organic emergence from the fertile ground of the present, just as it is. This touches on another Buddhist principle, the emptiness of self. This does not mean you don't exist. It means the solid, separate, you, that you think you are, a fixed character with a permanent set of traits, is more of a story than a reality. You are a process. A flowing river of sensations, thoughts, memories, and conditions. When you cling to a rigid self-concept, I am a victim, I am a success, I am an anxious person, you freeze that river. You suffer because life, which is flow, keeps bumping up against your frozen idea. A vivid example comes from my own early teaching days. I was so attached to the identity of the calm, wise teacher. Any moment of irritation, uncertainty, or fatigue felt like a personal failure, a crack in my statue. One day, during a talk, I completely lost my train of thought. A blank, white panic. The calm, wise teacher evaporated. In the silence, feeling utterly exposed, I did the only thing I could. I took a slow breath and said, I've lost the thread. Let's just sit in the quiet for a moment. The attempt to hold up the persona was exhausting me. Letting it crumble in that moment was a profound relief. And ironically, several participants later said that was the most authentic and helpful moment, seeing a human being, not a performance. I had to let go of my prized self-image to meet the reality of the moment. The I that was flustered was just as real, and just as fleeting, as the I that felt wise. Neither was the whole truth. Your healing journey will ask this of you repeatedly, to release the identity of the wounded one, the one who is healing, even the spiritual seeker. These are useful maps for a time, but they are not the territory. The territory is the alive, sensing, changing being you are right now. When you let go quietly of a worn-out self-story, you don't become nobody. You become more authentically somebody, the somebody who is present, adaptable, and real. Now, bring to mind a label or story you hold about yourself. It could be positive or negative. I'm a procrastinator. I'm the responsible one. Feel how that story shapes your perception and limits your choices. Now, imagine that story is a jacket you're wearing. Feel its weight, its texture. For this moment, in your mind's eye, gently take it off. Lay it down beside you. Without this jacket, who are you? Just feel the space, the openness where that story was. You are not a blank slate, you are a field of awareness, free to respond freshly to the next moment without being dictated to by an old costume. This is the practice of releasing identity. From this space of fluid being, we can approach the past with new eyes. We often think of letting go as forgetting, but that's not it. It is changing your relationship to the memory. A memory is not a prison cell unless you choose to live inside it. It is more like a photograph in an album. You can look at it, acknowledge it, feel the echoes of its emotion, and then close the album. You are not the photograph. You are the one looking. There was a veteran I spoke with who carried the searing images of war. They would intrude at random times, hijacking his present. Therapy helped, but the breakthrough came with a simple meditation practice. He was asked not to fight the images, but when they arose, to silently say, "That was then." Then, to feel his feet firmly on the ground and say, "This is now." He wasn't denying the past. He was simply, firmly, relocating his consciousness to the present reality. Over time, the memories lost their electric charge. They became historical facts, painful but contained, rather than portals that could pull him out of his life. He had changed the relationship from one of captivity to one of observation. This is the quiet, powerful work of mindfulness, using the anchor of the present breath to gently moor yourself when the storms of memory blow. So tonight, if an old memory arises with a sting, try this. Feel your breath. Feel the solid support beneath you. Sense the air on your skin right now. Whisper inwardly, "That was then." Feel the truth of that. The event is over. The feeling you had then is not the feeling you are having now, unless you rekindle it. Then, feel your breath again. This is now. You are here. You are safe in this moment. You are not in that photograph. You are the one holding the album, and you have the power to gently turn the page. This practice of release, of impermanence, of rigid self, of haunting memory, culminates in a surprising gift. A lightness of being. It is the feeling of having put down a heavy pack you didn't even know you were carrying. The path forward feels less like a grim march and more like a walk in a forest where you are free to notice the light through the leaves. With that lightness of being, we walk differently through our days. The ordinary moments, the steam rising from a cup, the weariness at the end of a task, the brief, unplanned silence between conversations, are no longer just filler between important events. They become the very fabric of a life lived awake. This is mindfulness in its most natural form, not a special exercise, but a quality of presence you bring to peeling an orange, to feeling the exhaustion in your shoulders, to hearing the distant sound of rain. Buddhism teaches that nirvana is not a distant heaven, it is found in the midst of samsara, the cycle of daily life, when we meet it with clear, unattached awareness. Letting go quietly is what clears the lens so we can see the sacred in the simple. I learned this from a carpenter who made traditional wooden joints, never using a single nail or screw. He would work for hours, sometimes days, on fitting two pieces of wood together. I asked him once if he ever grew impatient, wanting to move faster to see the finished piece. He put down his plane and said, "The finished chair isn't the point. The point is this." He ran his hand along the smooth, fragrant wood. The point is the shavings curling onto the floor. The sound of the tool. The feeling in my hands when the fit is just right. If I'm only here for the final product, I've missed my entire life. For him, the process was the purpose. His deep contentment wasn't deferred until completion, it was infused in every stroke, every moment of attention. He had let go of the future-oriented craving for a result and in doing so, discovered a profound and quiet joy available only in the now. We lived so much of our lives leaning into the next thing. We drink our coffee thinking about the commute. We commute thinking about the work. We work thinking about the evening. We are ghosts haunting our own lives, always one step ahead of ourselves. The practice of letting go quietly is the practice of haunting your own body, your own senses, fully and completely. It is coming home to the taste of the coffee, the feel of the steering wheel, the texture of the task before you. When you do this, a mundane life ceases to be mundane. It becomes rich with detail, sensation, and a subtle kind of poetry. This presence also radically alters how we meet difficulty. A challenge, met with a mind already leaning into a future where it's resolved, feels like an intolerable obstruction. The same challenge, met with full attention to its actual, present moment components, becomes a series of manageable sensations and next steps. It's the difference between seeing a mountain and feeling crushed by its scale, versus seeing the path at your feet and taking the next step. I remember a woman training for a marathon after a major illness. The goal of 26.2 miles was overwhelming, a monster that lived in the future. Her anxiety was crippling. Her coach gave her a strange instruction: forget the marathon. Your only job is to feel your footfall for the next 10 steps. Then the next 10. Be a scientist of sensation. She let go of the enormous, terrifying future goal. She released it completely. And she entered a world of exquisite detail, the rhythm of her breath, the swing of her arms, the patch of sun on the path ahead. The runs became experiences in themselves, not just means to an end. On race day, she did the same thing. She wasn't running a marathon, she was simply feeling 10 steps at a time, for a long time. She finished, not with a shattered sense of having conquered a beast, but with a quiet, steady feeling of having been deeply present for a long journey. The achievement was almost secondary to the richness of the experience itself. This is the application of right effort in Buddhism. It is not grim striving. It is the balanced, sustained application of attention to the task at hand, without strain toward a future reward. It is doing what is directly in front of you with care, and letting the larger outcome take care of itself. Your healing is like this. Stop focusing on the distant horizon of being fully healed. Bring your gentle, scientific curiosity to this moment's feeling. To this breath. To this small choice for self-care. String those present moments together with awareness, and you will find you have traveled a great distance without the exhausting burden of constantly measuring your progress against a far-off finish line. Now, let this sink into the body. Think of a small, routine task you do today or tomorrow: washing a dish, walking to another room, typing an email. Resolve now that when you do it, you will, just for those few seconds, let go of the destination. Pour your awareness entirely into the sensations of the act. The warmth of the water, the movement of your legs, the sound of the keys. Let the task be the universe for those moments. In this, you are not just doing a chore. You are practicing the art of being alive. From this grounded presence, a new kind of gratitude naturally arises. Not the kind you write in a journal because you're supposed to, but a spontaneous, quiet recognition of the myriad conditions that support a single moment. Buddhism teaches reflective gratitude for the sun, the rain, the farmers, the cooks, the vast, interconnected web that brings food to your bowl. When you are present, you start to see this web in miniature everywhere. There is a man I know who begins every day by standing at his back door for 5 minutes, doing nothing but looking. He doesn't name the birds or assess the garden. He just looks. He calls it drinking the world. Some days it's glorious sunlight. Some days it's a gray, dripping drizzle. He says he's learned to drink it all. The gratitude he feels isn't for good weather. It's for the privilege of perception itself, for the ever-changing show of which he is a witness. He has let go of his preference for sun over rain, and in that release, he receives the gift of both. His gratitude is for the capacity to experience, not for the specific content of the experience. This points to a deeper freedom. Non-attachment to pleasant feelings themselves. We cling to joy, to peace, to excitement, and then suffer when they fade. But what if we could enjoy the sunshine without demanding it stay forever? What if we could feel a moment of peace without immediately fearing its loss? This is the mature joy Buddhism points to, a joy that is not fragile because it isn't dependent on circumstances holding still. It is the joy of the witness, the one who can say, "Ah, this is pleasant," and then, when it changes, say, "Ah, now this is different," without panic. Your inner stability comes from identifying with the awareness that holds all experiences, not with the experiences themselves. So tonight, or tomorrow, find your own version of drinking the world. It might be a full minute of truly tasting your food. Or feeling the weight of your body in a chair. Or listening to the complex symphony of street sounds. Don't label it good or bad. Just drink it in. In that simple act, you are practicing the ultimate letting go, the release of judgment. You are meeting life on its own terms, and in that meeting, you will find a peace that doesn't need things to be a certain way to exist. This unshakable, non-dependent peace is what allows us to face endings, not as catastrophes, but as natural transitions. It allows us to contribute to the world not from a place of neediness, see me, value me, validate me, but from a place of overflowing fullness. When your own cup is filled by the simple act of presence, you have something genuine to offer. Your help, your work, your love comes from a surplus, not a deficit. It is sustainable. It is quiet. It is real. When we live from that inner surplus, a pressure valve releases deep within us. The energy once consumed by managing our image, wrestling with our past, or anxiously controlling our future becomes available for something else, creation. This isn't necessarily about art in the conventional sense. It is about the innate human impulse to shape, express, and contribute from a place of wholeness. In Buddhism, this aligns with right livelihood and the natural expression of an unburdened mind. When the inner clutter is cleared through quiet letting go, what remains is a clarity that can flow into the world in unique and authentic ways. I think of a woman who, after a corporate career that left her feeling hollow, took a year off. She didn't travel or have a grand plan. She simply stayed home. At first, she was restless, plagued by the shoulds. But as she let go of the need to be productive, she began to notice the neglected garden behind her house. Without any grand design, she started pulling weeds. Then she planted a few seeds from an old packet she found. She'd spend hours just puttering, her hands in the dirt, her mind quiet. That garden grew into a thriving, chaotic patch of vegetables and flowers. Neighbors started to comment, then to ask for advice. She began sharing seedlings, then hosting small teas in her garden. Without ever writing a business plan, she cultivated a small, joyful community around beauty and growth. Her creation was not a product, but a space of nourishment that emerged naturally when she stopped forcing herself to be something she wasn't. She let go of the identity of executive, and in the fertile silence that followed, the identity of gardener and community heart simply grew. This is how purpose often finds us, not as a loud calling, but as a quiet inclination that we finally have the space to hear. It emerges from the intersection of what brings you alive and what serves the world, but you can only hear that whisper when the louder noises of ego and expectation have been turned down. Your right livelihood might be your current job, done with a new presence and compassion. It might be a small act of kindness repeated daily. It is not about the scale, but about the alignment between your inner state and your outer action. This creative flow extends to how we communicate. When we speak from a place of inner fullness, our words carry a different weight. They aren't tools to get something, to defend a position, or to fill an awkward silence. They become offerings. Buddhism's right speech is often framed morally: don't lie, don't gossip. But at its deepest level, it is about authenticity. It is speech that emerges from the quiet center of your being, unhurried by reactivity. It is the ability to pause in a heated conversation and say, "I need a moment to feel what's true for me," rather than firing back a wounded retort. That pause is an act of creation. It creates a space where something new, other than the old pattern of conflict, can emerge. I recall a mediator who worked with feuding families. His most powerful tool, he said, was silence. He would let people vent their long-held grievances, and when they finished, he wouldn't immediately respond with a solution. He would let the silence hang in the room, thick and heavy. In that silence, people would often fidget, then slowly begin to hear the echo of their own words. They would hear the pain beneath the blame. Without him saying anything, their own hearts would often soften, creating a crack of openness where before there was only a wall. His skill was not in crafting perfect words, but in holding a silent, compassionate container where people could hear themselves think, and in that hearing, find their own way toward a new possibility. He created the conditions for them to create their own resolution. You can practice this creative silence in your own life. The next time you feel compelled to give unsolicited advice, to fill a silence out of discomfort, or to react instantly to a provocation, pause. Create an inner silent container. Breathe into it. See what wants to arise from that stillness. Maybe it will be a kinder word. Maybe it will be the wisdom to say nothing at all. You are creating a new neural pathway, a new way of being in relationship. From this place of creative alignment, we begin to experience interconnectedness not as a philosophy, but as a felt reality. The illusion of the separate, struggling self continues to dissolve. You start to feel your own well-being as connected to the well-being of the person in front of you, the tree outside your window, the society you live in. This brings a natural, effortless ethics. You don't refrain from harmful action because a rule says so, you refrain because you feel the reverberation of that harm in your own being. This is the pinnacle of the quiet letting go, the release of the illusion of separation. A powerful story of this comes from a friend who is a beekeeper. He described the hive not as a collection of individual bees, but as a single superorganism, a bee being. The workers, the drones, the queen, they are all cells of one larger life. When a forager finds nectar, she doesn't hoard it for herself, she returns and shares it, and the vibration of her dance communicates the location to the whole hive. The health of one is the health of all. He said that on his quiet mornings with the hives, this sense of a collective hum, a shared purpose, is palpable. You stop feeling like a keeper outside the box, he said. You feel like you're part of the hum. His letting go was the release of his human identity as a separate manager, and in doing so, he tuned into a larger frequency of life. Your practice is to notice where you feel separate and contracted. In traffic, feeling anger at that idiot. In a queue, feeling impatience with the slow person. In a disagreement, feeling the solid wall of me versus you. In those moments, can you pause and imagine the beehive? Can you sense the invisible threads of cause and condition that led that driver to be rushed, that cashier to be tired, that loved one to be fearful? You don't have to approve of their behavior. You are simply widening your lens from isolated incident against me to part of the complex, humming web of life. This shift, from contraction to connection, is the deepest quieting of all. It is the end of the inner war, because you can no longer so easily identify an enemy separate from the whole. This interconnected awareness naturally gives rise to a final, profound release, the letting go of the need for a specific future. We clutch our 5-year plans, our visions of how life should unfold, like sacred scrolls. But life is not a novel we are writing alone. It is an improvisational dance with billions of other actors. To hold too tightly to your script is to miss the dance. The Buddhist concept of non-attachment to results is not a recipe for apathy. It is a recipe for freedom and intelligent responsiveness. You plant the seeds you believe are good, seeds of kindness, skill, honesty, and you tend them with care. But you let go of your demand for exactly what the fruit should look like, when it should ripen, and who should get to eat it. An architect once shared with me that his best designed buildings were often those where the clients gave him a clear purpose but broad freedom, and where the construction process encountered unforeseen challenges that forced creative adaptations. The final building was always different from, and better than, his initial pristine drawing. It had the marks of reality etched into it, the collaboration of craftsmen, the response to the actual land. It had a soul his drawing lacked. He said, I had to learn to love the process more than the plan. The plan is just the starting whisper. The building is the full conversation. Your life is that building. You have a whisper of intention, a value, a direction. But the living of it will be a full conversation with reality, with unexpected delays, with collaborative partners you didn't choose, with materials that have their own nature. Letting go quietly of the rigid plan allows you to engage fully in that conversation. It allows you to be the wise architect who can adapt, incorporate, and discover a beauty in the finished structure that your original blueprint could never have imagined. So tonight, as you rest, consider one small plan, one expectation you are holding tightly about how tomorrow, or next year, must go. Feel the tension of that holding. Now, imagine opening your hand and letting that specific plan rise from your palm like a dandelion seed into a gentle wind. Whisper to yourself, I know my direction. I will tend my garden. But I am open to the shape of the fruits. This is the ultimate trust. This is how you become a co-creator with life itself, rather than its weary opponent. And so we arrive here, at this point of integration. Not at an end, but at a beginning lived from a different center. The quiet letting go we have explored, of outcomes, of rigid identity, of the need for an audience, of old pains, of separation, and of fixed plans, is not a series of tasks to complete. It is the gentle, ongoing art of coming home. Home to the breath. Home to the sensations of this body. Home to the awareness that has been present through every joy and every storm. Buddhism's ultimate goal could be described just this way: to cease seeking peace somewhere else, and to recognize it as the fundamental nature of the mind when it is not cluttered with grasping. This is not a passive state. It is a vibrant, alert resting in awareness. Imagine you are in a forest, and you have been walking for a long time, carrying a heavy pack. You've been focused on the path, avoiding routes, checking your map, worrying about the distance. Then, you stop. You take off the pack. You sit down against a tree. And you simply are there. You hear the birds you were too busy to notice. You feel the cool earth beneath you. You see the pattern of light and leaves above. You are not walking, but you are deeply present. The journey hasn't ended. You have just remembered that you can be at home within it. This is the peace of the Buddha. It is the peace of one who has put down the burden of becoming and remembered the simplicity of being. I'd like to share a final story, one that encapsulates this homecoming. Years ago, I met a master clockmaker. His workshop was a universe of quiet, rhythmic ticks. He could spend a year restoring a single, complex antique clock. I asked him what the most important part of his work was. I expected him to talk about precision, about tiny gears. Instead, he took me to the back of his shop and showed me a wall of empty clock cases, beautiful, ornate shells of wood and brass, their mechanisms long gone. These, he said, teach me the most. He explained that people would bring him these hollow cases, hoping he could make them tick again. Often, he couldn't. The original parts were lost to history. My job, he said, is not always to restore the tick. Sometimes, my job is to help someone see the beauty in the silence. To see that this empty case, cleaned and cared for, can be a perfect vessel for stillness. It can hold time in a different way, not by measuring its passage, but by honoring the space within it. He had learned to let go of the insistence on function, and in doing so, discovered a deeper, more spacious beauty. Your heart, your life, can be like that. You may have parts that feel broken beyond repair, mechanisms of old joys that will never tick again. The quiet work is not always to frantically restore the old function. It can be to clean out the hollow, to polish the empty space with your compassionate attention, and to discover that this space itself, this silent, accepting awareness, is not a deficiency. It is a sacred vessel. It is the very capacity that holds all your experiences. In honoring this inner silence, you are not giving up on life. You are making a home for a peace that does not depend on the unreliable ticking of external circumstances. This is the unshakable peace that comes from within. It is not the absence of noise in your life, but the presence of a deep, inner silence that can contain any noise without being shattered by it. You become like the sky, capable of holding thunderstorms and brilliant sunshine with equal spaciousness. The weather changes, but the sky's nature remains vast, clear, and untouched. So, how do we live from here? We live gently. We move through our days with a lighter step. We practice what I call sacred selectivity. We are no longer compelled to react to every stimulus, to absorb every piece of information, to have an opinion on every event. We choose where to place our precious attention with the care of a gardener choosing where to plant a rare seed. We say no more easily to what drains us, not with resentment, but with the quiet clarity of self-respect. We say yes more fully to what nourishes us, because our yes is no longer mixed with desperation or people-pleasing. We also live with a quiet confidence. Not the loud confidence of someone who has all the answers, but the soft confidence of someone who knows how to be with the questions. We trust our own intuitive knowing. That inner whisper that speaks in the language of gut feelings, of sudden peace, of resonant joy. We consult it more than we consult the noisy opinions of the world. This confidence is the fruit of all that inner listening we have practiced. It is the voice of your own wisdom, finally able to be heard above the static. And we live with natural compassion. Seeing the shared struggle in every face, we meet others not from a pedestal, but from a place of shared humanity. Our help becomes more effective because it is not laden with ego or the need for gratitude. It is simply the natural overflow of a heart that is no longer constricted by its own wounds. We forgive more easily, not as a heroic act, but because we see that holding resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. We let it go for our own freedom. This path of quiet release, as taught by the Buddha, leads you to a profound realization: you were never broken. You were simply tangled. Tangled in attachments, in old stories, in resistant thoughts. The letting go is the gentle process of combing out the knots, not of creating something new. The peace, the wisdom, the love, they were always there, like the clear blue sky behind the clouds. Your work was never to manufacture clear weather, but to patiently, faithfully, allow the clouds to pass on through. So now, as we prepare to close this shared space of reflection, take a deep, nourishing breath. Feel the entirety of your journey, not as a linear path to a finish line, but as a spiral returning you, again and again, to this present moment. To this breath. To this awareness. You are invited to carry this feeling forward. Not as a special spiritual state, but as a background hum to your ordinary, beautiful, messy human life. When you feel yourself clenching, remember the open palm. When you feel yourself hardening, remember the willow. When you feel yourself preparing your defense, remember the power of silent listening. When you feel lost in an old story, feel your feet on the ground and whisper, "This is now." You have within you everything you need. You are the garden and the gardener. The ocean and the wave. The awareness and the content of the experience. Letting go quietly is the art of distinguishing between the two, and resting in the vastness that is your true home. Thank you for walking this path with me tonight. May you move forward with a lighter heart, a quieter mind, and the unshakable knowing that peace is not a place you find, but a space you create within yourself, moment by gentle moment, breath by quiet breath. This concludes our journey together. The temple gate is always open. You are always welcome to return, to sit, and to remember. Go in peace.